All right, peace, everybody. My name is Brenda Williams, founder of Culture Shift Hers Unite. We are a womanist multimedia platform focusing on storytelling, community, and placemaking. We do that through the Brenda Williams Show, Solo Lead Her, the podcast, and networking. Today is such an important broadcast for a multitude of reasons. And namely, I want to introduce to you all my friend, Lekeshia Hicks, but also a front runner for the Montgomery County Commission. And you may say, Brenda, what does Tennessee have to do with Michigan, with Chicago, with Atlanta? Okay, because we're all America. That's why. And I was recently at a Juneteenth celebration here in my city, directly in the neighborhood. And there was a historian, and he said something really profound. And I'll never forget this. He says, if you're looking at today's politics, you have to look at history.
Mm-hmm.
And where Lekiesha sits, not too far from Memphis, Tennessee. Memphis, Tennessee. When I think about Memphis, Tennessee, the first thing that blares in my mind is the Lorraine Motel. Some people think of Elvis, but I think about the Lorraine Motel. And that, of course, brings to mind Martin Luther King.
Yep.
It brings to mind, of course, Baynard Rustin. And it brings to mind those very liberties that they were marching for, the existence of the Lorraine Motel, now the Civil Rights Museum, how that's under threat, that there's revisionist history happening right here and right now, not just in Tennessee. And as the historian named, we are starting to see some very similar movement in states that were also, as he started naming them, Lekiesha, this is what got me. He named every state that was in the Cotton Kingdom.
Mm.
So Alabama, Louisiana,
Yep.
Tennessee, Mississippi, and how things are moving at a local level that are morbidly disturbing on our human rights. And as Lekiesha named for us in the green room, unless you're the 1%, every neck is on the line.
Mm-hmm.
So this is why it is a moral imperative for us to look at probably the biggest unifier. And has been, as we've watched over history, to all of you who are listening, Lekiesha, this is what I noticed over history too. Every time there have been factions trying to unite across class, there is always a kink, an assassination,
Yep.
some sort of thwart whenever unification starts to happen along class. Because we can add, okay, not on race, not on gender, not on orientation, but if we can unify on class.
Absolutely.
I'm an assembly line baby, so union, get it. I'm sure you are, and we'll get into this amazing, you know, background, because Lekeshia Hicks is an Army veteran,
Yes.
HR and workforce expert, small business leader, and community advocate running for Montgomery County, Tennessee Commission District 9. Throughout her career, she has worked at the intersection of workforce development, leadership, community service, bringing a practical understanding of the challenges facing families, small business, and local communities. Her campaign is rooted in transparency, responsible growth, ensuring residents have a meaningful voice in local government. So without further ado, Lekiesha, thank you so much for saying yes.
Absolutely. Thank you for these conversations are so important because I think a lot of people discount themselves out because the civic engagement hasn't been taught in a way that allows for them to get involved, right? It's like, what does it look like to be involved? And they think that looks like maybe protesting and all of this stuff that they see that they're like, ooh, that might not be my thing. So what can I do? And there's so many different ways to get involved. One, listening to podcasts like this and understanding what is actually happening at the root of all of this turmoil, right? We talk about these states and the shifts that are happening. Tennessee has been a proving ground for trying new things out, right? They're the uproar, trying to make gerrymandering redlining happening all over again, right? So they tested in states like Tennessee that are super red, which Tennessee is really honestly not a red state. We're purple, meaning that we don't get out and vote. In my district alone, we have a 5% turnout of voters, especially for local races, which are way more important than the presidential races. So I think people need to understand what happens at the local level and get involved any way they can.
That's right. And I think that as you named, the civic engagement piece
Mhm.
is such a critical piece. And as you name, you're in Tennessee. And when I also think about places like Tennessee, Montgomery, Alabama, Atlanta, Georgia, I think about young people. And I'm just curious, and with your platform, what are some of the ways in which you have engaged young people? What role can young people play now that they've always played in the past? What are some of the ways in which we can maybe encourage youth to get civically, before we even get involved, just civically centric? Like, let's
Yeah.
get your mind.
Civically minded, right? I think that goes back to our school system and what we're teaching and what's being not being taught, right? We are lucky here. Our grassroots organizer for the Democratic Party, Rose Valentine, she also handles the youth for the NAACP, our Montgomery Clarksville chapter, and she has those kids involved in everything. So it is an amazing way to get your kids involved. They can volunteer, they can come and see, peep out what happens there. But those kids absolutely love learning. They take trips to the Capitol. They're door knocking for candidates, and they're having fun with it. And I think the youth are the answer to all the problems that we're having. Right, the youth are way more engaged in politics than previous generations, right? The youth are the ones leading this. They're the ones saying, hey, no, this is not happening, right? We're not settling for this. We're not doing what you want because you say, right? Like you're like old school parents, because I said so, right? They're not taking I said so for an answer. So that is a really good thing here, that the youth are very involved, tapping into like your local colleges. Some of them have a Young Dems, and even if you're independent, like reaching out to just different organizations that are in alignment with your values and tapping into the youth in that way.
And what I love is that there is this intergenerational, as I'm seeing across generations a common goal, a common mission, the understanding. And when we think about you in your earlier career, you served in the military,
Yes,
which
yes.
means that you are literally, what do they say, there's no racists in foxholes?
Yeah, yeah.
Right. Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So when you think about this path that you're on now, how has military and workforce development and entrepreneurship,
Yeah.
all of it, right? How has that shaped your unique ability to not just run for this office, but to hold it?
Yeah, so the military has taught me that to be able to serve under anyone, right? Good leaders, bad leaders, all types of leaders. Leadership is kind of the core principle in the military. So I was able to really hone in on my leadership skills, to be able to influence people to do what needs to be done. Also, having to serve under presidents that you might not agree with, right? So I think it gave me this Switzerland approach to being able to look at problems and be able to problem solve, right? I can see why people are on the other side, right? I psychologically can understand what has happened that has got us here, um, and understand what needs to happen in order to undo it, because I have empathy and sympathy for people who have been led in this direction, right? And it's leadership that is on the other side that has created this, right? So leadership can be good or bad, and it can lead you into good or bad positions. So understanding leadership, understanding how people work and how to motivate people really has prepared me for this. And then as an entrepreneur, a citizen here. One of my campaign slogans, if you will call it, is your neighbor, your commissioner, right? Because I live in this neighborhood. My kids go to school in this neighborhood. My grandkids are now growing up here in Clarksville. So what happens in this city really matters to me, right? I want my grandkids to be able to grow up and have the life that they deserve and they want, right? And how can we do that if we're imposing laws or regulations that are impeding on people's rights to just live and exist?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's beautiful that you have your children with you, your grandchildren with you. So when we think about that as well, when you talk about transparency
Mhm.
and responsible growth, what does that look like in practical terms? And then, of course, I think a central question, what inspired you in the first place to say, you know what, in the middle of life, as a Black woman in these United States, I'm going to add one more thing onto my plate, and that is going to be to run for public office.
Right, right. So when I think about like, and I'll answer the last question first and then go
Yes.
back to
Mhm,
the
mhm.
first question. But when I think about the trajectory of my life, my career, I feel like everything that I've been doing has set me up to be in some sort of office, right? My dream was to end up in education policy. I'm in my doctorate program in education at a local college here, Austin Peay State University, and with the hopes of being at the state or federal level in education policy, right? And that's where I entered the political arena because I was having issues with the school system here and getting my daughter the services that are her right for her learning environment, right? And I was hitting so many walls. And I sat back and thought, like, if I have the means, which I was able to take her to tutors instead of waiting for them to do it. I was able to take her to get an assessment because I have insurance, right? I have all of these, I have the privilege of having a stable life, a stable income to be able to provide outside of what the school system should be providing. If I'm having these issues, what is happening with the single mom who is working two jobs, can't take off work to take them to extra assessments? Their child is getting further and further behind in school because they're waiting on the system. What are they doing, right? And they're falling through the cracks. And this is why our education system is where it's at, along with trying to dismantle the Department of Education. That's a whole nother story, right? But that is what got me my foot in the door. And then as I started to go into these political circles, and I started to see kind of the same people making the decisions, the same circle of people out and about all the time. And election season came up and they were like, hey, your seat, your district person has doesn't have an opponent, and no one should go unopposed. Everybody should have opposition, whether they are doing their job or not. We need to make sure that we're holding them accountable. They want to keep their positions and they are fighting to keep their positions, right? And if not, let someone else come in and do the job. And that's how I grabbed a petition and qualified. And it's been a whirlwind since. I have learned a lot. I talk about civic engagement. I myself wasn't civically engaged at the local level until all of this happened. I wasn't sure how all of this worked because it is very convoluted and very confusing. I mean, there's so many barriers to even running. You have to get 25 signatures. Some parties require you to pay $500 to run in their name, right? So there's so many different barriers. You have to raise $10,000 to run, or depending on the level of your race. The governor raised millions of dollars, right? And I think that's such a waste of money. But those are the things that happen. So that is how I ended up here running. And as far as growth, transparency, and all those things, I go to these meetings, they talk in code, right? If you don't know, you don't know. So for me, it means translating these meetings, these important meetings that are open to the public that no one comes to tell them, hey, they're requesting rezoning this agriculture land to commercial. and it's going to bring luxury apartments to your neighborhood. If you don't want that to happen, come down to the commission meeting on this day. You're able to speak, sign up to speak, right? Without the voice of the people, these things just keep happening. And we have boomed. Clarksville has grown so big too fast that our infrastructure wasn't able to keep up with it. So responsible growth, which sounds like a buzzword everybody's using, right? What is responsible growth? It means kind of taking a step back and a pause and reevaluating the land, because as you're building on it, shifts are happening and we're in flood zones. Now you have people's houses underwater, literally here. People are suing right now because they lost their homes because of a flood, right? But it wasn't a designated flood zone. Yeah, but
too, where dirt is contaminated. And so now, because you're moving at the production schedule, and of course that's what dictates it. So now we just have contaminated dirt just wafting in the air. And of course, now moving to residential areas, and in most cases where there's vulnerable populations.
Absolutely. Always where the vulnerable populations are, because they won't show up to these meetings and fight. And so if you can't show up because you are working, right? I can't show up to a 3 p.m., a noon meeting. You send me an email and say, hey, Lekiesha, look, there's a meeting happening. This is how I feel about it. You should be emailing your leaders, whoever's in your city, your ward, whatever you call it for your city, every time you see something happening. And you're like, hey, what's your stance on this? What do you think about this? Break this down for me. That is their job. That is literally their job. Make them work for their positions. Ask what's going on. Ask questions. Give them questions to take to meetings for you. That is what we're here for.
That's it. And I think you're naming something really important, especially in communities that have been historically Black and brown neighborhoods. The gentrification.
Yes.
The erasure of history for the sake of progress, or what some people deem progress, pushing out undesirables.
Nashville is notorious for this.
Ooh, come on.
Notorious, yes.
Yes. And you named something really important too about the understanding of responsible growth. Just because you can doesn't mean that you should. And I've watched too, especially in education, there are meetings that happen maybe about around textbook or curriculum, but I find it curious that they're often in cities that have nothing to do with where the actual decisions are being impacted. And they're so far away that people in that actual city can't get a bus, can't get a car ride, because it might be 45 minutes to an hour away.
Yes.
And then you hold the meeting to say, well, we held a meeting, it was public, you could attend, but who could attend?
Right. And that's exactly how things happen. We have here in Tennessee, they want to add, well, I think it's already been approved, gun safety classes to elementary school and beyond. For what? I am not sure how this is going to help with the problem we have with guns. This is their solution to school shootings, right? If kids know how to use guns, then they won't use them in the wrong ways. I don't understand the logic behind it, but those are the type of decisions that get made in those closed door meetings. Because when was this on the block? And also we have a supermajority here, right? So that's why these elections are super important. We're trying to flip the commission to make it able where we have a fighting chance to turn down some of this stuff that's happening.
Yes. And it makes me think about too, this is a demanding job, and you already have a demanding job. The demands, of course, being in the military, running a business, being a wife, being a mother, being a grandmother, and now this. So how do you ground yourself in all of this?
Yeah, honestly, it's on the people around me, right? I tell people this is the ultimate group project. I am just a vessel, right? I need everybody around me to help me get there. And what that looks like with help me get there is not only just voting for me, donating to the campaign or volunteering. That is my family helping with dinner on nights that I have commission meetings, or having the kids be a little more self-sufficient sometimes, and all of those things, right? It's life balance, because schoolwork, I'm in my doctorate program, as if writing laws and writing petitions isn't enough. I'm writing a dissertation. So these are really big, heavy lifts. However, this was too important for me not to do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everything else can settle around it, because we are in such grave trouble right now. There was literally no choice but for me to run. I could not let the person that is in the seat go unopposed. And again, I'm doing my all by coming on, having these conversations, posting, talking to constituents, passing out things. But at the end of the day, August the 6th, for our election, that is what's going to determine what happens moving forward. And I really, really hope people see how important it is.
That's right. And, as I close, I want to, really dial in your message and what you would like to leave with residents. But obviously, in this space, we can speak to people all across the country and all across the world. As a Black woman, queer, former military, grandmother, daughter, um, uh, all of the identities that you hold and carry. How do you hold, I think, a unique vision for not just advocating for those who are furthest to the margins, but really how do you then bring into the fold maybe those, as you said, that don't think like you, that don't believe like you, because it's only one Tennessee.
Yeah, yeah. So crosstalk is so important to me, and crosstalk and cross working over party lines. So unfortunately, Tennessee and Montgomery County specifically, we don't have nonpartisan government, right? So you have to pick a side, and then we're fighting for, the party versus the issue, right? Some people will down ballot vote. They don't care who it is. They're down ballot voting. But being able to work on both sides, which again, I think that military experience comes in handy, because I've worked with people all around the world, different countries, doing all of having to make deals and negotiate, right? So I am able to have conversations and really understand, like, I really understand your perspective, but how about, and then providing another perspective, right? So I think that is super important, understanding that you have someone that is open-minded, that will listen to both sides of what's happening, but ultimately do what's best for the constituents and the majority, right? We don't want to keep having this small group of people who are benefiting from what's happening. And if we can break that up, like you said, the working class is larger than any class in itself. That even with all the identities you name for me, we can't do it on our own. We have to unite against that 1% and start really making it living wage and all of these things, childcare, like that we need to thrive in this environment moving forward.
Yeah. And I think when we start thinking along the lines of humanity and, we talk about working class, that impacts a lot of people. That's the majority of Americans. And I read somewhere that most people are maybe $725, just a number like that, away from catastrophe. Like if something came up and it cost them that much money, it would topple everything.
Right.
And that again goes across age, gender, orientation, like this is very serious. So when people go into the wherever they are, and they're thinking, oh, I want to sit this election out. Sometimes with the primaries, people sit the primary out.
Yeah.
I will say it's been me, not always, but since a certain regime has taken up, I said, oh, this is where things happen. And you're like, well, wait a minute, where did that happen? It was the primary.
Yeah.
And I tell you, you can see, look, you can shoot a cannon many times through the gymnasiums, the auditoriums on the civic level, or wherever people are voting during the primaries, how urgent is it for us to vote in August?
Yeah, this is literally life or death, honestly, at this point, where what we have been pushed through, and the laws and the threat of future actions, it's literally life or death for people at this point. Like, people are dying, they're starving because the cost of food, and when we talk about that middle class, they're on that cusp of, you don't qualify for government assistant, but you also are not making enough to make ends meet. So what are we doing, right? So those are, it's literally life or death to get out there and vote. Like, you have to vote. If you can't get out and vote, get an absentee ballot, right? Get it mailed in, make a plan, contact your local Democratic Party or whichever party, NAACP, Equity Alliance. There's so many different organizations out there that can help you get to the polls, can help educate you, send you literature on what's happening. Just get in contact with somebody. Send a Facebook message. Say, help, I'm in this county and I want to vote, but I don't know what's going on. And please just figure out how, when, where, and how to vote.
I love it.
Yeah.
And so if you're under the sound of my voice, whether you're catching this on the replay or you're live now, again, I want to reset the room. This is Lekeshia Hicks, and she's running for county commissioner in Montgomery County in Tennessee.
Yes.
And the reason why I think this is so important is because we understand that places like Tennessee, Mississippi, even though it may not feel like it has a direct impact, it does, because what is happening in those states, again, are like a practice for what they can do across the country. Let us try it out here first. And if you're paying attention to the news cycle, and I know some of us say, oh, I'm not paying attention to news, or I don't do politics. Baby, politics does you. Yes. I would say I have no aspiration to run. But I do have an aspiration to be in the know and to support Lekiesha, Deanne, and Amanda Treppa. So I'm doing so this Thursday for seasonal planning. So if you come to seasonal planning, and this is for women who are in the threshold season, where you don't want to just do business as usual. You know that your leadership and structures have to change because you do care deeply about your community, about your state, about the world, and the faction that has risen to power. What can you do with your two hands? How do we build capacity? Because many of us are in seasons. Lekiesha and I are both taking care of parents with dementia. Some of us have people who are recovering or in chemo. Some of us are dealing with all of the above and going through a divorce or parental loss, a transition of a parent. My mom passed 2 years ago, and if I'm being honest, the grief is still palpable and real.
Absolutely.
But yet, every day we wake up, we got to put one foot in front of the other and tend to the business. But we can't tend to the business if we're not tending to the heart. Yes. And that is what this seasonal planning is about, is to help you go beyond just the typical strategic planning, but go into the, I would say, strategic formation. And a portion of the proceeds are going to benefit Amanda Treppa, our amazing Lekeshia Hicks in Tennessee, and Deanne Austin, who is running for District 8 here. Deanne and Amanda are running for congressional. Yeah,
that's a big deal.
That is,
that's a big deal. They need a lot of money.
Yes, they're running for state. Yeah, they're running for state reps. In their district. So that is a big deal. And I have watched both of them in Lansing. I've watched them move, and I've watched them door knock. And please understand, people, it is thankless. They're both first time run, so they are not the incumbents.
Right.
They're running for the very first time. So door knocking sometimes can be very lonely. So let's show
intimidating.
Yes. And
you don't know who's on the other side of the door, and being in this body in this state, knocking on random doors, right? There's a lot that goes into.
Come on, let's talk about it. Let's go there.
There's a lot that goes into running. There have been reports of people being shot at here for knocking on the wrong doors, right? So you have that fear of knocking on the wrong door and not making it out of it. I mean, people, with everything that's happening already, right? We're already in this really intense divide. and one wrong move could just land you don't know where. So it's for those of us who are running, I think everybody needs to really understand what that means for us in these type of bodies, right? It's a dangerous, not just physically but mentally, because you death threats, rape threats for women for just running and saying what you believe in. You know, you get called socialist, you get called all of these different things that aren't true, and that is hard to take for some people mentally, right? Because at the end of the day, if you're an empathetic person like you, I'm like, I just want to help people, and this is what's come to me. I didn't seek this out. So it's jarring to get those type of messages and the negativity that just is our environment right now. So I commend anybody who is in this political climate running, especially in a Black body, because you are doing literally the Lord's work out here, and trying to survive and help other people survive. So yeah, please be mindful of that. And if somebody knocks your door, answer the door and have a conversation, because you never know what happened on the last 6 doors for them. So it is a very, like you said, lonely and scary ride, right? We're counting down till August because I want to get through this, the hard part, to do the work, because some of us just want to do the work, and we're not these people who are wanting to do all of this stuff, right? We're not the front person. I've spent a lot of time just in the background, research intensive, you know, being the quality control and data person. But now it's my face, it's my kids' face, right? People are recognizing them and us in public, right? So you have to make that decision. Am I going to put this target on my kids and my wife and all of these things? So it's a lot. So definitely support those that are running, support them, because they really need it.
Yeah. Thank you so much for being here today. Also, just naming, just in transparency, the type of leadership you're hoping to model, and the beautiful career that you've had that has prepared you for this chapter of your life, and just also the very real realities of being Black, of being a woman running, the door knocking, some of these things we may take for granted, and not even realize just what's required, what's at stake when we're putting our lives on the line. But I do know that our ancestors didn't make the sacrifices that they made for us to have a spirit of fear or apathy. So I just want to thank you so much for saying yes to this. And I'm so happy that we can support you. So you can go to BrehendaWilliams.com, click seasonal planning, and join us. I'll put a link after the show is over, and we'll also put a link to connect you to Lekiesha so you can see more about her platform, what she's running under, and the impact that she is making. I am so proud of you, Fran.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Thank you for having me.
It has been it's been a pleasure. So I will see you all soon, and grab your seat for seasonal planning. We have a limited amount. We only have 6 spaces available. So I hope one you will claim as your own. All right, Lekiesha, have a great one, friend.
You too.
All right. Bye for now.